tonight, or think briefly tonight, about John chapter 2. It's not exactly an unfamiliar passage, is it? Jesus turns water into wine, but we're just going to work our way through it. And this is the Message translation, okay? And it says, 3 days later, there was a wedding in the village of Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there. Jesus and his disciples were guests also. When they started running low on wine at the wedding banquet, Jesus' mother told him, "They're just about out of wine." Jesus said, "Is that any of our business, mother? Yours or mine? This isn't my time. Don't push me." Of course, Mary, being his mum, totally ignored that. She went ahead anyway, telling the servants, "Whatever he tells you, do it." Just if I might interject at that point, right? This was the first miracle that Jesus did in his ministry. I wonder what he did growing up that made his mum know that he could do something about this. Do you know what I mean? What was it he did as a youngster that when they started to run out of wine, she went, Jesus will fix this? I'm fascinated. You know, I said the other week, I've got some list of questions for Peter. I want to know what Jesus said to Peter when he rocked up that first meeting and he rose. I think I want to ask Mary that one. How did you know? What did he do? What was he like as a little boy? No? Just me then. Anyway, 6 stoneware water pots were there. I mean, big, hefty things. That were used by the Jews for ritual washings. Each held 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus ordered the servants, "Fill the pots with water." 20 to 30 gallons. Right. Anybody got a hose? No. Down to the well then. Fill the pots with water. And they filled them to the brim. In every story, there's a smart aleck, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? Fill them with water. Oh, he wants some full. I'll fill them all right. To the brim. "Now," said Jesus, "fill your pitchers and take them to the host." And they did. When the host tasted the water that had become wine. Again, when? When did it become? It was water when they filled the jars. Did it become wine then? Did it become wine when they put the pitchers in and filled them? Did it become wine when they poured it out? Did it become wine when the host tasted it? I mean, all along those steps, there is the opportunity for the servants to bottle this, isn't there? And to go, "Oh, no, this is more than my job's worth." But they didn't. When the host tasted the water that had become wine, he didn't know what had just happened. But the servants, of course, knew. And he called out to the bridegroom. Right, in front of everybody. "Everybody I know begins with their finest wines. And after the guests have had their fill," I think we all know what that means, don't we? We've been to enough weddings to know what that means. Yeah, indeed, yeah. "They bring in the cheap stuff. But you saved the best till now." This act in Cana of Galilee was the first sign Jesus gave, the first glimpse of his glory, and his disciples believed in him. John chapter 2. And like I said, it's not the most unfamiliar passage of Scripture, is it? It's not exactly an obscure story. We know the story, Jesus' first miracle, and it was a miracle of respect. His mum said to him, "Fix this." Maybe she didn't quite say it sternly like that, but, you know, I had a Scottish mother, so that was always implied. Fix it. No. Anyway. I'm 61 and I still shiver at the thought of her telling me off. Anyway, it was a miracle of respect. Mary asked him to do something. He said, it's not my time yet. The message says, don't push it. She says, do something. He acts out of respect for his mother. I think it's beautiful. The creator of all things, the God of all heaven and earth, still takes time to care what his mom thinks. Isn't that lovely? Yeah. It was a miracle of compassion. The people at this wedding were running out of wine. It would be shameful for them. Not just embarrassing, shameful. They would be the talk of the village. Years from now, people would be sitting round at weddings going, hey, do you remember that wedding we went to? You know the one I'm talking about. The one, yeah, Jesus, that Jesus bloke, the son of the carpenter, he was there. Hey, whatever happened to him? Indeed. Well, do you remember? They ran out of wine. Do you remember that one? Yeah, that's not going to happen here, not this time. It was one of those stories that would be told over and over again, and the family would never live it down. The bridegroom would be ashamed. The family would be shamed. And Jesus, he says, this is nothing to do with me. This is not my responsibility. Do you ever feel like saying, this is nothing to do with me? This is not my responsibility? Do you ever say, this is nothing to do with me. It's not my responsibility. And then your wife looks at you. And you know it is. Just get up and do something, Paul. Do you ever have that? There's a miracle of compassion. Jesus cared about this family. It was a miracle of transformation. Water into wine. But he is the creator God. And I heard somebody say recently, it was a miracle of time travel. Which always gets my attention, to be honest with you. Have you seen they've announced the new Doctor Who? Have you seen? Yeah? Yeah. I haven't a clue who he is. No, not a clue. Which will be interesting, won't it? Anyway, let's not get distracted. Let's not get sidetracked. But somebody said to me, it's a miracle of time travel. I went, what do you mean it's a miracle of time travel? They said, well, think about it. How was good wine defined as good wine? Good wine is wine that has had time to age, time to develop, time to deepen in flavor and body. Good wine is aged wine. And the wine that Jesus created, it had time to age. Now, I'm not a big fan of wine, so it's a bit beyond me. And even in the days when I did have the odd glass now and then, never really understood all those nuances where people, you know, I'm getting notes of their blueberry with oak, and there's a little bit of soap underneath that, and fish and chips with just a hint of salt. I never understood all that nonsense. It made no sense to me whatsoever. Right? But some people are like that, aren't they? Jesus made, some translations take it, not just good wine, he made the best wine. And of course, he didn't go back in time, pluck the grapes, etc., etc., etc. He didn't do any of that. As a creator God, he created it good. So in a sense, I suppose it is a bit of a time travel miracle, because it takes you back to the very first moment of creation when God created. And every time God created, it was good. It was good. We might have stuffed it up since. We might have made a mess of it since. We might have ruined it since. But God made it good. And Jesus created and brought aged wine to the feast. And there are lots of illustrations, lots of points Lots of things we could say about that. There's an interesting echo. In Isaiah 25, the prophet talks about the God who will bring a feast of rich food for all peoples and a banquet of aged wine. It says, he will destroy the shroud that enfolds all the people. He will swallow up death forever. The sovereign Lord will wipe away the tears from all faces. He will remove his people's disgrace. Isaiah 25. And I wondered in this moment whether Jesus is alluding to this. Because he brings good wine, aged wine, to the feast. He lifts the darkness that hangs of shame that hangs over that family. He transforms the situation from tears to joy. And we know that Jesus swallowed up death forever. Death, grave, where is thy victory? Death, where is thy sting? Or is it the other way around? I don't know. I can't remember. Look it up. But you know what I mean. He brought the good. And as I'm occasionally want to do, I had to look at the Greek word that's used this. Well, I know a little Greek. You know the good thing about that joke? I don't even need to go to the punchline for some of you anymore. You all know it. So, yeah, we'll leave it there. But if you would like to know it, see me afterwards. But the Greek word for good there is kalos. Not Carlos, kalos. And I love the fact that one of the meanings of kalos is that it was genuine. Right? Not just that it was good, but it was genuine. That wine had never been near a grape in its life, but Jesus still made genuine wine that was good out of water. Jesus brought the good, the kalos. He transformed things. He changed things. He brought the good. But in order for them to experience the good that he brought, some things had to happen. They had to surrender control to him, which is never easy, is it? It's never easy to surrender control to someone else, is it? Even if that someone is God. I always want to fix it myself. Sometimes it's really hard. When my lads were growing up, they used to joke because they'd be doing something. And I would say, because I didn't want to stick my oar in. You know, I didn't want to interfere. Those of you who know me are going, really? Say what? We have met you, you know. Oh, I didn't. I wanted to let them develop. I wanted them to mature themselves. But if it wasn't going right, it was very hard to sit on my hands. And so I would say, and it happened once or twice, and it just became a running joke. I'd say, could I just make a suggestion? You can laugh, but the day will come. Could I just make a suggestion? And sometimes we turn to God and we want him to work in our lives, and we want him to work in our church, and we want him to bring people in, and we want him to see lives transformed, and we want to see people encouraged and enthused in Jesus. And we're praying and we're seeking and we're trying and we're working. And sometimes we turn to him and we go, could I just make a suggestion? Don't we? But Mary said to the servants, do what he tells you to do. And not one of them second-guessed him. Not one of them. They surrendered control to him. Let me ask you this. Are you surrendering control to Jesus in your life? Because the only way for the kalos to come, the good to come, is if you surrender control to Jesus. They had to accept that he could do something. And again, that couldn't have been easy. I mean, I feel sorry for that poor bridegroom. I mean, all right, Jesus got him out of a hole. Jesus saved his blushes. Jesus saved his shame, but at the same time, that guy and his family had done their best to put on the wedding as well as they could, and Jesus comes along and does it better. That couldn't have been easy, could it? And sometimes we refuse to let Jesus work in our lives, and we refuse to let Jesus work in our situation because we know he will do it better than we can, and pride gets in the way. They had to accept that he could do it. They had to accept that he needed to control it. They had to accept that his good that he was going to bring really was the answer to the problem. Jesus' good is the answer to your problem. Jesus' good is the answer to your question. Whatever the good is, however it is manifest, however it appears, that which Jesus brings that is good is the answer to the problem. And they had to open themselves to his power. I wonder if, those servants, I wonder if they kind of jostled their way to the back of the line. Fill your pitchers, right? We've filled the pitchers now. Take it to the host, to the master of the feast, and let him taste what we have created. And you can almost imagine them doing the sort of, musical chairs, getting themselves to the back. No, you go for it. No, it's all right. You go for it. You do it. You have the honor. Go on. They had to open themselves to his power. And Jesus brought the good. He brought the best. He always brings the good. He always brings the best. You read through the Bible, the promises that are in the Bible of what Jesus brings. Promises like, that verse that says, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask God and he will give it. And the wisdom that Jesus gives is the best wisdom. It's the good wisdom. It's the kalos. And what Jesus brings is always good. It's always the best. So why do we so often insist on sipping the second rate? I wonder how many of the people at that wedding feast, when they heard that the best wine was coming out now, I wonder how many of them went, no, it's all right. I'll keep drinking the inferior version. Thank you very much. I would imagine that the plant pots got watered a lot in that moment. And these drunk lilies in the corner. Oh, no. Yo, I'm ready. Hi. Why do we so often insist on sipping the second rate? What are you running out of that you need Jesus to supply? He brings the kalos answer, whatever it might be. And that word kalos, it means a few things. It means good, but it also means beautiful, excellent, eminent, choice, surpassing, precious, useful, suitable, commendable, admirable, praiseworthy. That which affects, I love this, that which affects the mind agreeably is comforting and confirming. He brings the kalos answer. But for him to bring the good to you and me today, for him to bring the good wine, for him to bring the good answer, for him to bring the good solution, for him to bring the kalos, we have to surrender control to him. We have to accept that he can. We have to accept that his answer is the best answer. We have to open ourselves to his power. Stop resisting him. So, what are you running out of that you need Jesus to supply? If we will surrender, accept, see the answer is in him, and open ourselves to his power, he will bring the kalos, and it will be better than anything we've ever had before.